recording. I don't know why it is we keep forgetting to do that. But if you have courses that are not showing in your course list, have you checked the ESIS website, NCSIS website to make sure those courses are there? And if they're not showing at the school level, they've got to be added at the LEA level first. So are they not showing at the school level, or do you not find them in the spreadsheet that's online? Aaron's reading.
Okay, Marcia says, I have a school that is teaching AP English 4 on Monday, Wednesday, Friday one week, Tuesday, Thursday the next week. The course is paired with another course for the other days of the week. Last year the school set up a 10-day schedule. Is there a way to do this without doing a 10-day schedule? That's going to depend if it always has to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Tuesday, Thursday. You're going to have to do a 10-day because each day of the week will have to be represented twice. If you simply need them to alternate, you can use a 2-day rotation, A day and B day, but when you have out-of-session days and things of that nature, you're going to come off the Monday, Wednesday, Friday one week, Tuesday, Thursday the next. So it depends. If you're fixed onto specific days of the week, that's a 10-day rotation for 2 courses. Carrie as follows, says, course code not showing available at the LEA level, state code disabled.
Yeah, Carrie, I think you're going to have to do a ticket for that. It may be a course that they have just put an end date on, not sure. But go ahead and do a ticket and check with them and make sure that they're not changing that course code for some reason.
Donna says, we are in Region 1. Have any other LEAs requested a May build date for our region? So I could speak to that at large. You know, there are only 2 of us to go travel, so we had to make a travel schedule to accommodate only 2 people. Some LEAs are a little bit earlier. Some of them are a little bit later. We're not able to add anything to the calendar because the entire team is booked up from the end of March straight through the first 2 weeks of June. However, after Friday, you'll be able to sign up in a different region. So if that date really doesn't suit you, you can find a date that's better if you're willing to travel to that workshop location. But other than that, we are completely booked up, and I'm sorry we can't be everywhere for everyone during the perfect week.
And the number of courses that were, or number of sessions that were made available are based on the number of different types of schools you have within your region. That was done before Aaron and I got involved in it.
Okay. Barbara says, we are changing from an 8-period day where our 9th grade meets periods 1, 2, 3, 4 as skinnies, periods 5 through 8 as blocks, for a total of 6 periods. Our 10 through 12 graders meet in 4 blocks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, for 4 periods. Our principal wants to change our 9th grade team to 1, 2, 3 and eliminate 4. I'm not sure what you mean when you say eliminate 4. Can you elaborate on what your 9th grade schedule will look like next year? I mean, it's possible to re-express all of your sections and courses to meet your need. is the simple answer, you'll just do that with a combination of periods and expressions that are more than one period long. So the short answer is yes. I don't know exactly what changes you'll need. Ninth grade would be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But how would 10 to 12 work when they have 1, 2, 3, 4? Sounds like you've got an interesting schedule going, Barbara, where your ninth graders are going to have 5 periods a day, and your upperclassmen are going to have 4 periods a day. So you're going to have to use number sets in your bell schedule so that your ninth graders meet in different numbered periods than your upperclassmen, because the lengths of those periods are no longer going to be the same. Sounds like 1, 2, 3, 4 will work, but then you're going to need the rest of them to be different for the other grade levels. It can be done. You just need to kind of put on paper all of the discrete times that you need and assign period numbers that don't overlap each other. It's going to be a little bit creative for your course availability and stuff, but it can be done.
Yeah, the key is your periods not really overlapping each other. I think there's, like, you can't have ninth grade have a 45-minute period 1 and 10th grade have a 90-minute period 1. So your lower grades may have periods 1 and 2, 45 minutes each, and upper grades may have 11 and 12 as 2 90-minute blocks.
That is a creative one.
But remember, in the end, once you get it all done, you'll want to have one bell schedule.
Glad it makes sense to you, Barbara.
We wonder sometimes if we're making sense. Keep in mind the one bell schedule is because you can only attach one bell schedule to each calendar day in your calendar setup. So even though you're not doing your calendar setup now, you still need to think about that process as you're making these periods and these times. Okay. So far, so good.
So Barbara's asking about that series of periods, like 11 through 13 for 1 through 3 and 1, 2, 3, 4 for the upperclassmen. Exactly right. So you have to put in for number of periods the number of the highest period number you'll need to use. So if you need to go up to 13, that's 13 periods, even though you're not going to necessarily use like 9 and 10, and you'll just have to accommodate that in your system. Just let them sit there blank.
Yeah, they'll be there, but there won't be any minutes attached to them if you're not going to use them. Now, so keep in mind, as we reminded you, as you start this process, in your periods during your day, you may not want to add additional periods like at the end of the day. You may want until after you've finished your scheduling, to add those before and after school periods. You can always go back and add those. Okay. As we sit and wait, as you get ready for your build workshops, get as far as you can on the pre-scheduling steps. You should be at least through the validation. When you come to the build workshop or the load workshop, you may have one error that you can't figure out. If you get to that point, go ahead and email us. We'll help you try to figure it out before you get there. But you should be at least through that first validation process, and even possibly into hitting the build one or two times, but you're just kind of stuck. It's only a 2-day workshop, so you probably will not leave with a completed schedule.
Don asked if you could demonstrate the validation.
I probably will not get much of anything because there's not much data in here. But if you go into Power Scheduler, if you are doing a build and a load, you're going to run your course rank. And I'm going to build it, and let's see if I get anything. Probably not. Nope, there are no courses in the course catalog. Okay, so there are no courses in here. So you build the course rank. Then you click on the word build, and it says validate only. So you're going to check that validate only box, scroll to the bottom, and click execute. Remember, you must have the Power Scheduler engine downloaded on the machine that you're doing this on. And only one person should be doing this at a time. Once that's completed, I will go back to beside the word build and click on Q. I should see the type of build it is. It's a build. It should have a start as true and a success as true. It should have a time date stamp completed. You're going to click on that View Results Log. This is where you'll see your errors. You cannot build if you have errors. This only has 3 errors because there's not much data in here. You'll get warnings, errors, and information. Warnings you want to clear up if you can. Some of them you may not be able to change. Errors must be cleared up, and then just look at your information. Things that you get. See, here's teacher found without assignments. That's a warning. Invalid max consecutive periods in a teacher file. That's a warning. Those are things that really need to be cleaned up, though. If the teacher's not teaching, then they shouldn't be in here unless you're using them as a placeholder. So they shouldn't have any assignments. Their box should not be checked. You continue to do this until you end up here at the top where you have 0 errors. And once that's done, you can click the word build again. And here it says build your master schedule. You do not have to click validate. You say build the master schedule and execute it again. And that starts the process of building the master schedule for you. You will get errors during that time also. And that's what we hope to work with you on, or at least the school that's coming on those kind of things at the build workshop.
Barbara's asking how to make her alternates work.
How to make your alternates work? I'm not sure what you mean by work.
She says last year they didn't function from the course request screen. So the short answer there is when you set up the requirements for courses, you have 3 options for what type of request that's going to generate. It's either required, which you'll use for your core courses. These will not be replaced by alternates. You can use electives. Now, electives work with alternates. So if you code others as alternates, if I can't get into an elective class, it'll replace with one of my alternates. So where Sue-Ann is now, the request type for electives needs to say elective, and then for alternates needs to say alternate. Alternates replace electives. If you code everything is required, there's nothing for the alternates to replace.
Also, if you enter requests by student, and let me pick a student here and I'll just show you. You go to their request tab and you enter some requests. Let's just say some new ones here. I'm just going to pick a whole bunch here. What happens is that information is not noted here. The person who entered those requests must physically go into the request screen. Any course that is an elective, they need to put an E in the code box. If it is an alternate, and a bunch of these are English, so sorry, they need to check the alternates box and also enter that code. Doing it by hand, you must physically enter this information. Last year we had a lot of people who did it this way and did not put the E or the checkbox in the E, and you ended up with alternates and elective courses taking the place of required core courses. So that's a very important step if you're doing it this way. Good question. Keep them coming. We only have a few more of these before the workshop. One. Well, we have one more of these before the workshop. Any questions? We're hoping that this is helping you so that next year you'll be able to just take off and run with this.
When can we start adding course codes again?
Well, it depends on the size of your LEA whether you can add course codes or not. What I would tell you right now, if you're struggling with adding course codes, send a ticket to the service desk. If you've got some that has to be done, send your ticket in, and they can get that done on the back end for you. So I know they found some things that's causing it, and I think they're working on those. 13.
And right now we're scheduled to upgrade in April. It was supposed to happen in March, but it got pushed to April, and that issue is resolved in that version.
That's what we found out yesterday. It has to do with the number 13 is what it has to do with. If you're a small LEA, you need to have 13 schools, and you have to have 13 years of dates in your system. So Yeah, you have to have terms back to 2000, but you have to be very careful entering those because they've got to be entered in the right order. So send a ticket to the service desk, and they should be able to help you walk through that process. And I don't know why I have to do the number 13. 13 is a good number. Okay, keep those questions coming. If we don't have a lot, we may close this one out at the end of an hour also. It's about how long we've been running them is about an hour. We can always have Aaron sing for you. So ask questions because I'm not sure we want to hear him sing. Make sure before you do your last load that you have gone to years and terms and you have looked at this information, you have edited your years and terms, and you've made sure that the beginning date and the end date for each term is correct. The first day the students set their seats in a seat, and the last day the students have their seats in a seat. For the semester, it's going to be basically the day before the second semester starts. No gaps in time whatsoever in this calendar. So before you do that last load, make sure you've got that done. Much harder to change on the live side. Any other information you want reviewed while we're sitting here? How to do something within Power Scheduler. If you've got any questions, go to that Power Source page and review those distance learning modules. Those are great modules for you to review. Make sure you've got everything done. Also within Power Scheduler, review your checklist or review the checklist that we sent you when we did the Prepare to Schedule workshop. Make sure you've got all of these things taken care of. Keep in mind that departments are not required on rooms, but it sure does make your scheduling process go a whole lot easier if you have departments on rooms. Allow yourself at least 2 to 3 weeks to commit your schedule. In case there's an error, we can get that fixed. Make sure if you have signed up more than one person at one of those build or load workshops, you go ahead in and you can delete those registrations. Only one of you needs to be signed up, and that's the coordinator. One thing I would like to mention that I have discovered is if you're copying your master schedule, when you go to Functions and click Copy Master Schedule, there are two checkboxes here. Both of those must be checked. The one that says Clear Existing Schedule Terms in the Destination School Year, you must check that. If you do not, what happens is it keeps the terms based on the 14-15 school year, and it causes you to have problems. So you must check both of those boxes if you want to copy your master schedule from 14-15 to 15-16. This is your time. We really don't have any training for you right now. This is just time for you to ask any questions that you have about scheduling or about the upcoming workshops that we have going on. It will get a little bit harder for Erin and I to answer emails beginning the first week in April because we will be out in the field. So just keep that in mind. It will be evenings before we can probably get back to you.
Melinda asked if there'll be any workshops for data managers to sign up for.
I'm not sure what you're asking for data managers to sign up for. Your data manager should be coming to the build and load workshop as one of the scheduling team. They should be the one who's putting the information in or should be there as part of that team so that they'll know how that process is working. As far as other workshops, I'm not sure what you're asking.
That's right, Melinda. Only one school from the LEA can attend. So if that's not your school, that's the extent of the sessions we can offer. And we have to limit the number of schools because we're limited on the number of sessions we can offer. We're going to bump that up a little bit on Friday, but if your school isn't participating in one of the workshops, you got to work with your LEA people.
Your LEA coordinator should be who you need to talk to about who's going to the workshop. They're the ones that have been taking care of that. Our hope is that they will come back from the workshop and help everyone else.
Jeannie wants to know, do load-only people need to auto-generate rooms, teachers, courses. I don't think so.
I don't think so either, because they should be there. I tell you what, I was just trying to think. I would just look at your sections, make sure they have teachers and rooms attached to them. You may want to auto-generate your rooms if they're not there, so that when you copy back over, they'll copy back over and be on the live side also. It's not going to hurt to auto-generate your rooms. Keep in mind you do need to do those course attributes also. Even if you're a load person, on the live side, your courses need to have the attributes connected to them.
Can you show how to create a multi-course requirement?
A multi-course requirement. So in my setup screen, I don't know what groups. Let me go back here and let me look at the groups that I have, if I have any groups whatsoever. I'm going to look at this group. This is a 10th grade science group. The group is created, but it has nothing checked. So I'm just going to go down through here and check a bunch of these courses in this 10th grade alternate group so that I can show how to set up a multi-requirement. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my courses screen, the setup, 10th grade. New multi-course requirement. What am I going to name it? I think it was 10th grade electives or alternates, 10th grade alternates. Description. I can put a description in there if I want to. What group am I going to choose from? I'm going to choose from that 10th grade alternate group that I had. Now, the decision comes here. How many can they pick? I'm going to say they can pick in this group between 1 and 4, depending on how many other courses that they've picked. What message do I want to display if the number of courses is not correct? Please go back and pick at least one alternate. What type of request is this? This happens to be an alternate request. Sort order, I'm not going to worry about. Number of requests to generate? 1. Submit.
Another thing to note there is your minimum and maximum. Can those be the same? Absolutely. If you put a minimum of 2 and a maximum of 2, it forces the student to pick exactly 2. So you can pick a number and make it the same, or you can allow a range.
So now I'm going to preview this, see if it actually works. When I open it up, this says you may select between 1 and 4. You've selected 0. I can select 1 and say OK. My checkbox becomes green, my check mark becomes green, my exclamation mark is gone, and that course is there. Okay, so let's say the student picks 5. That's 5. I'm going to say OK. In this case, they all showed up. But I have a red exclamation mark. it at the end is not going to allow me to save my screen because I have selected one too many courses in this group. I do not have a green check mark. I have a red exclamation mark, and I must go back and fix that. Okay? That help?
It may have.
Keep in mind when you're doing this, core requirement does not mean math, science, social studies. Core means this is a course that you have to take no matter what. You get it whether you want it or not. Ninth grade PE is a core requirement for most people in ninth grade. Okay. Got about 15 more minutes. If we don't get many more questions, we'll probably go ahead and close out at about 2. Jeannie, your hand went up. Do you have a question? If it's a question you need us to unmute you for so that you can ask on the phone, let us know. We'll be more than happy to do that for you. We'll let somebody else talk besides us. Let me go ahead and demonstrate a core requirement here, and let's see if I actually have one here. 11th grade health and PE. (10-12) PE. So when I preview this, you will notice that they ended up with all the PEs here as a required course. So they have to take all of those. They would probably like that a lot. Generally, you're just going to have one course there. But this is a test database, so I didn't know what they had set up in there. But that's what a required or a core requirement does automatically.
If you can copy another school's course group to use in a different school. And the only way around that is on the group itself, you can set the availability for the current school or for all schools within the LEA. But it's one school or every school. Those are the only two options.
And you need to be real careful about all those schools because the same information may not be the same in every school. Course code-wise even. So
Don asks, is it beneficial for an early college to do a load only for just high school courses and not college courses?
if your high school courses are going to stay pretty much the same and in the same place they have, and you know what high school courses they're taking, you can go ahead and do a load. and get those in there, and then work the college courses around them. A lot of it also depends on how many students you have.
And when you'll know the college schedule.
Yeah, and when you'll know the college schedule. But if you know your high school schedule is set, and then you work the college courses around there, it could be beneficial to you to do a load. Depends. I know that's not much of an answer, but you can uncheck those college courses to schedule and then just load your high school course requests in there. Again, make sure you watch the NCSIS website on Friday for additional information about the build and load classes. Remember that if you are doing a build, you just need to sign up for a build and load, not a build and load and a load. Okay? Got about 10 more minutes. Do you feel these sessions have been helpful? We'd like to go ahead and know that so we can decide whether we're going to do them next year or not. Aaron and I have started planning some webinars and things like that for next year, so we want to be sure that we offer this to you and possibly even offer you just some sessions, just general call-in question sessions. So just kind of send us an email and let us know what you think. Anything you'd like demonstrated while we're here?
If a school is going to manually enter their course request, can they do that on the live side? They can if they use the request screen. In order to individually do the request by number, I believe they have to be in Power Scheduler.
We really hesitate to have you do much of anything on the live side before EOY. You run a great risk of interfering with the current year's information. You have to be very, very careful. You can copy that master schedule over into the Power Scheduler and enter your requests in there.
Jeannie wants to know how middle school counselors are supposed to help their 8th graders, Power Scheduler access or through student logins. For 8th grade students, you're not going to see anything in Power Scheduler if you're at the middle school because those students belong to the high school scenario. So all of that scheduling help is going to have to be done through the live side by the middle school, Power Scheduler by the high school.
If you create a simple scenario on the middle school side, those 8th grade students can use, though, the scheduling screens. So that would actually be the way to go. But you must have just a simple scenario set up at the middle school level.
So she's saying 8th graders will use scheduling screen. The counselor needs to assist the accelerated kids who took high school courses in the 8th grade. When you say assist the accelerated kids, do you mean manually change their course request to courses that are not available to the rest of the grade? What do you mean when you say assist? So you're saying like manually adding AP biology for an advanced student. The 8th grade counselor is not going to be able to do that unless you add that course to the course group and the counselor just goes behind the student and uses the screen to change the selection. That's going to have to be done up at the high school.
We got about 4 more minutes.
How can you check to make sure every course in your course guide is set to issue credit to make sure you're not missing something? That's a good one.
I would assume it would have to be a DDE pull.
That was my thought, would be to export the scheduling courses table for the year and just export the field for credit. Although it actually pulls from your courses table.
So you'd have to pull it from your courses table.
If you know that every single course in your catalog has to issue 1 credit, an easy thing to do is to autofill course information and set credit to 1, if you can do it there, or use modified selection. And Sue Ann's going to show you that.
Functions. Autofill course information.
Oh, you can't do credit.
You can't do credit here. Should be.
And the credit should be pushing, Tessa's telling me, credit should be pushing from the enterprise controller. So courses that bear credit should be set to 1. I would export your courses table and just look at credits and look at your zeros and make sure that those are correct. And if they're not, write a ticket.
You can look at your courses here in Power Scheduler, and you see that it says credit hours is changeable, but you do not want to change that. That comes from the state, for the state of North Carolina.
Deborah's asking, why is course name not one of the fields in the scheduling CC or the CC table? It does all that by link to make the system smaller. That's just the way it's designed. I don't have a good answer there, but you've got to do a cross-table call to get it. And depending on which table you start in, you can't always.
I'll tell you. Courses is table 2. Go about another 5 minutes. See if we have any other questions. These Q&A webinars, the ones that we've recorded, that we've remembered to push the record button for, are posted out on the NCSIS website. Okay, one more reminder. Watch the website, the NCSIS website on Friday. The seats that are left will be on a first-come, first-served basis once we open them up. So when they're full, they're full. There won't be any additional seats. It will be possibly 2 schools from your LEA. So keep in mind, you should only have 2 registrations. Coordinator will be registered. Each of those registrations can bring 4 people with them, but they do not need to be registered on the system. Only the coordinator and the schools that are coming she'll list. So watch for that on Friday. We'll let you have more information about that then. If there's nothing else, I think we're going to probably go ahead and call this for today. Do we have any more questions? No more questions coming in at this time. If you've got any, please email the service desk, also Erin and I, so that we can try and get a lot of them answered before the end of these webinars and the builds start. So if there's nothing else, thank you all for attending and great questions today.